Hi everyone, welcome back. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm so happy to have you guys all here, both old and new subscribers alike. Interesting messages that I'm getting right now. First and foremost, what I'm hearing is that spirit. God is going to show you very clearly how much darkness you have been protected from. There's a particular quality of attention that can feel at first like warmth, like being seen, like someone finally noticing something in you that others may have walked past. And there's a part of you, a very human part, that responds to that, that leans toward it almost involuntarily, the way certain plants turn toward light without being asked. But not everything that moves towards you is moving towards you for the reasons it appears to be. And what may be worth your attention right now, carefully, without alarm, but with a particular kind of clear-eyed awareness, is the possibility that someone in your immediate orbit has recently shifted their approach to you, has suddenly become more present, more interested, more available than they've been before. And something in you may have already noticed that quiet flicker of question beneath the surface of the interaction, that almost imperceptible hesitation before you respond to their warmth with your own, that part of you that registers something not quite wrong, not loud enough to name, but present, like a sound just outside the range of hearing that the body detects before the mind does. Let's slow down here, because this deserves more than a quick warning. There are people who approach others with genuine openness, with real curiosity, with a warmth that asks for nothing beyond connection. And there are people who approach with an agenda so practiced, so smoothly carried, that it can be genuinely difficult to distinguish it from sincerity, at least in the beginning. The difference rarely announces itself. It tends to reveal itself in accumulation, in the small things noticed over time, in the way the interest seems to sharpen around particular topics, what you have, what you know, who you're connected to, what you might be willing to offer, in the way the closeness feels slightly accelerated, slightly more intense than the actual history between you would seem to warrant, in the way it sometimes feels in unguarded moments, like being studied rather than simply known. That feeling, however faint, is worth something. It's information, and it may be asking you to hold a little more of yourself back than this person's sudden warmth is inviting you to release. Think about the timing of this shift, because timing carries meaning, even when it's never acknowledged out loud. Something may have changed recently in your life, in your circumstances, in what's visible about your situation from the outside. A new opportunity, perhaps a change in status or stability or direction, something that others may have registered before you thought to consider how it looked from where they're standing. And it's worth asking gently, without accusation, simply as an honest inquiry, whether the timing of this person's increased interest aligns in any way with something that recently shifted in your favor, whether their closeness arrived alongside something that made you more valuable to approach, whether the warmth began around the same time as a change that had nothing to do with them and everything to do with what you now represent. That's not paranoia. that's pattern recognition. And your ability to recognize patterns, to read the energy of a situation before it fully reveals itself, may be one of the most protective things about you right now. There's a particular kind of person who is skilled at reading rooms, at sensing where the warmth is, where the resources are, where the openings exist in someone's life, the unmet needs, the quiet loneliness, the places where a little attention could purchase a great deal of trust. These people aren't always conscious of what they're doing. Sometimes the behavior is so ingrained it no longer feels calculated. It simply feels like how they move through the world. But the effect on the person they're moving toward can be significant, because that kind of attention is designed, consciously or not, to bypass the parts of you that would otherwise be more cautious. It targets the part of you that wants to be seen. The part that responds to warmth with warmth, the part that perhaps has been a little starved for exactly this kind of presence and finds it difficult to be skeptical of something that feels in the moment so much like what it's been missing. And so the guard lowers slowly, naturally, without any dramatic moment of decision. Just a gradual opening, and then at some point a realization that you are further in than you meant to be. That more of yourself has been shared than you would have offered if you'd been paying a different kind of attention at the beginning. What might this person want? That question may not have a clean answer yet, and it may never resolve into something simple or singular, but there are a few possibilities worth holding loosely as you observe the dynamic more carefully. It's possible they want access to your world, your connections, your circle, the people and opportunities that become visible when someone gets close enough to see how your life actually operates. It's possible they want information about you specifically, or about someone or something connected to you. People who move close quickly often do so because proximity is the fastest route to knowing things that aren't otherwise available. It's possible they want influence, a foothold in your life from which a particular kind of leverage, emotional, social, practical, becomes possible in ways it wasn't before. Or it's possible, and this is worth holding to, in the spirit of fairness, that something genuinely shifted in them, that they recognize something in you they'd overlooked before, that the approach, however sudden, carries no hidden architecture beneath it. You may not know which of these is true yet, but you don't need to know in order to move carefully. You don't need a verdict to maintain a little more space than they seem to be inviting you to close. Here is what the energy seems to be suggesting for how you navigate this. Not with coldness, not with a sudden withdrawal that announces itself and creates its own complications, but with a quiet internal recalibration. A decision made privately, held lightly, to observe more than you respond for a while, to let their behavior accumulate into a pattern before you draw any conclusions, to be warm enough that nothing feels disrupted while keeping a particular part of your inner world a little further back than their closeness is reaching for. Watch what they ask about. Not dramatically, not with suspicion painted visibly across every interaction, but notice what draws their curiosity. Notice what they return to. Notice whether their interest in you feels broad and genuine, or whether it tends to sharpen around specific things, specific people you know, specific circumstances you're in, specific aspects of your life that would be useful to someone with a particular purpose. And notice how they respond when the conversation moves away from those things. Whether the warmth holds or whether it subtly dims, whether their attention stays present or whether something shifts in them when you're not offering what seems to most interest them. That kind of observation, patient, consistent, undramatic, can reveal more than any direct confrontation ever could. There's something else worth considering. Your energy right now may be more visible than usual, more attractive in some sense, not in a way that's about appearance or charm, but in the sense that something about where you are in your life, what you're carrying, what you're moving toward, may be registering to certain kinds of people as something worth getting close to. That's not a flaw. That's a consequence of growth. But it does mean that this may not be the only situation of this kind that's worth watching. There may be more than one person in your orbit whose sudden interest deserves a second, quieter look. More than one interaction that carries beneath its surface warmth, a quality of intention that hasn't fully declared itself yet. This isn't a call to distrust everyone. It's an invitation to trust yourself more than you trust the performance of others, to let your own internal read of a situation carry more weight than the image someone is presenting, to remember that your comfort with someone is not the same as your safety with them, and that the two can diverge quietly before you notice it's happened. What tends to protect people in situations like this is almost never dramatic. It's rarely a confrontation or a decision made in a single moment of clarity or a sudden revelation that makes everything obvious. More often, it's something quieter, a habit of noticing, a willingness to let time do what time does, to let a person's behavior accumulate until the pattern becomes unmistakable. A commitment to not rushing into closeness simply because closeness is being offered. It's the practice of being a little slower than your own warmth wants you to be, of letting someone earn what they're reaching for rather than offering it simply because the reaching feels good to receive. That slowness isn't unkindness. It isn't suspicion dressed up as wisdom. It's a form of self-respect, a recognition that your trust, your time, your inner world, your access, these things have value. And value, by definition, shouldn't be surrendered quickly to anyone whose motives haven't yet had time to clarify. As this comes to a close, here is what may be most worth carrying with you. Something is moving in your direction, and it may carry warmth that feels real because some of it may be, but beneath the warmth there could be a purpose that hasn't declared itself, a need that your closeness is being recruited to serve, an agenda that looks from the outside exactly like genuine interest. You don't need to act on this today. You don't need to create distance or have a conversation or make any visible change in how you're showing up. What may serve you most right now is simply an internal shift, a quiet decision to watch more carefully, to let your intuition have a seat at the table instead of being talked out of what it's already sensing, because it has been sensing something. That's why this landed the way it did. That's why something in you recognized what this was about before you finished reading the title. That recognition, that immediate wordless knowing, is not nothing. It may be the most important information you have right now. Honor it, move gently, and remember that not every open door needs to be walked through, especially when something about the opening feels slightly more deliberate than accidental. Stay aware, not afraid, not closed, just awake, quietly, steadily awake. That may be exactly enough.